Hey everyone, welcome back to Three's a Crowd.
We're back.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. And happy birthday.
Oh, belated. Yes.
I
Thank
know.
you so much.
It was fun. We all celebrated, so it was a fun little afternoon.
It was actually good. I just realized after 2 hours or 2.5 hours of talking, I was exhausted.
I know. We were talking about this last night.
I was like, I think the next birthday I need to mix it up with some like moving around.
Yeah,
I know. Like a yoga class.
Wait, but I had so much fun. What do you mean you were exhausted?
I
mean,
felt
it
the
was
same
tired.
way. Yeah. Like
wiped
socially,
out.
like,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know why though, because I usually can talk for like ever.
Yeah.
No, I feel like
But
the
I felt
same
that.
thing. I felt like it was just that maybe because it was also Sunday. Like by the time we got home, it was like dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was actually a perfect ending to a night because all day with you ladies, and then
Yay.
60 minutes came on, and I was like, yay.
I'm going to bed.
They're like, I'm crushing this next
Yeah,
year.
and then bed at 8
can't.
o'clock.
I know.
Perfect birthday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And we ate all the fried chicken.
yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
did.
I was going to ask, did you? Okay, well,
Well, that's the thing. So I think we're going to talk about relationships today.
Yes. I think
totally.
So it's like one of those things. Like I feel like when your partner and when you and your partner are at the point of like, you know, whose fault is it? Like, right? So we're like both like, it's funny. It's like,
Who's segue?
I know. It's like we're at the phase of life
Yeah.
where it's like someone's got to point a finger.
Right?
It ain't me.
Yeah.
it's not me.
It's
Well,
not
it's
me.
not me. Well, it's your fault. It's not my fault. And then you just go back and forth with this banter. And so yesterday it was like funny because my birthday, all I said to Jason was like, I just don't want to plan because he was like, oh, what do you want for dinner? And I was like, don't make me plan my own dinner.
Birthday
I'm like,
dinner.
it's my
I already know
birthday.
where this is
going.
And
Yeah.
apparently that like turned into like, I don't know. So we all ended up ordering because we were ordering in.
Yeah.
It was like an easy night, but none of us liked the same thing. So we just all ordered different things. Like I had Indian, you know, they had Mexican, and Max was like, well, I want Five Guys. So I'm like, okay,
Oh
great.
my
I'm like,
God.
this
So
is
there's like 3 Grubhub guys.
3 Grubhub guys. Jason's like, this is ridiculous. Da, 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 da. Anyway, so this morning it just turned into like, well, it's your fault. No, it's my fault. I'm not giving in though.
So who did have the fried chicken?
Well, I think all of us
All
just
of us,
kind of like
yeah.
everybody was like starving. So
That was the
like our
amuse-bouche.
pre-dinner.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's Tom was with all the kids when we were out, which is great because he was away on business last week, so he gets to hang with the kids, and he does genuinely love it. Like I wouldn't be able to have 4 kids if I didn't have such like a hands-on dad. Like
Yes.
he's genuinely like takes over when I'm not there, but when he is working and he isn't there, it's all me, which obviously that's kind of what we signed up for. So but it is nice to see him be with the kids and have a good time. And he took them to the movies, and he's like the fun dad. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't. But they're like, well, you had so much fun with dad. I'm like, well, that's great, but
That's great.
you can have fun with me too. But I just have a lot more to do during the day.
Like when you guys fight with your husband, like what do you fight about?
I don't know. It's always different. I feel like.
I feel it's like different for us too.
Yeah.
Usually it always comes from one of us feeling very overwhelmed. Like it'll
Yeah.
be like an overwhelmed like burst, you know.
Well, then-
but I'm married to like a guy who's like non-reactive.
Yeah.
So it always keeps fights very like I'm always the one that has to like
I hate
apologize.
that. Tom's like the
Well,
same
at least you
way.
apologize though.
Yeah.
What
I
happens if
know
your partner
because it's
doesn't
like
apologize?
well, yeah, that
Yeah.
sucks.
I,
Well, that
I have a
lingers.
tough time apologizing, but when I'm like actually wrong, which is really rare,
But
I
that's
do
the thing, no one ever
apologize.
thinks they're wrong.
I know.
Yeah. I like
true.
know when I've crossed a line though. Like, don't
Yeah.
you feel like deep
Yes,
down if you've
yes.
crossed a line, like you're like, okay. Like,
But I do
I've
have to
messed
cool
up.
off a little bit, like until,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I almost have to be like, okay. And again, relationships, when you fight, it's so normal and natural to fight. So
Yeah.
that's why I feel like some people are always like, we have the perfect relationship. It's like, no, you freaking don't. Like, what are you hiding? But like at the end of the day, like these fights aren't necessarily that big, but there are big issues sometimes in relationships, such as when you're talking about, I don't know, like very serious things. And sometimes people don't know how to communicate. And I think the number one thing in a
Yes.
relationship is communication. Like if you don't know how to communicate, you're either A, not going to have a great relationship, and B, you're going to be miserable or fight all the time.
So this is like obviously a very like taboo subject
Yeah.
that I'm going to bring up, but I even realized with like girlfriends and like in my relationship and like people I'm talking to, one of the biggest I think culprits in when fights will get out of control or fights will like there's no clear kind of resolution is fights about money. I feel money talk in
totally
relationship
agree.
is such a real thing. And like
No one
not
talks
having
about it.
and no one talks about it and not having that clear communication and like whatnot. I think that's like a very touchy subject. It's also like the most unsexy subject.
I know.
It just sucks.
I know.
I completely agree because it's obviously like Tom, he took the role of going to work and providing for our family. So he does deal with the bills a lot. which I deal with the bills on my terms.
Yeah.
But there are situations where he has to sit down and get serious and say X, Y, and Z. And I almost can't like not accept, but it's just like, well, you're telling me what to do. It's like, what, like, I hate when someone sits down and tells you what to do, but you have to have these open conversations.
Yes.
And talk about the money talk.
And not feel like you're being dictated
And
to.
not feel like you're dictated, like it's a partnership. Like it's not, it's all of our, like I stopped working to take care of the kids. So
yeah.
like
So
it's my money too.
So one of the things that like was really interesting for us is like very early on in our relationship, we ended up having to talk about money because at the time we were supporting another family member on his side of the family, and we were about to get engaged. So there was a lot of talk around that. And then we got married in the church, and the church, in order for us to get married in the Catholic Church, we had to do this like, oh my God, I like feel really bad. I feel like I'm forgetting the name. I think it's called like pre-cana.
Yes.
You're
okay,
right. Pre-cana.
Yes, it is.
And it was
What is
basically,
that?
so it
It's
was
like a
basically,
pre-marriage
it's
thing
like a mini
for Catholic Church.
marriage, like boot camp they put you through.
Okay.
So it was like 2 weekends in New York City. And like Steve and I are both like Catholic from like, we got baptized, but we didn't like grow up like going to church and all this stuff. So anyway, so we go to this pre-Cana class, and it's about, I don't know, like maybe like 12 couples in there. And then there's 3 couples that talk to you. The first couple have been married for 1 year. The second couple that talks to you has been married for 10 years. And the third couple that talks to you has been married for 30 years. And they gave us this huge questionnaire that everyone had to like answer. Yeah. And the amount of conversations that were going on in that room, like, what, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you think that? Da-da-da. It was like, they made us have like really, and one of them was an entire section on like, how are you going to deal and talk about money in a relationship? And like no one in the class had even like gone over that with their, and we're getting married.
Yeah, I know.
We're like,
and it's a big
we're getting
thing.
married. We're
So
like,
it's not like scored kind of thing.
No,
to where, like
it's-
questionnaire afterwards.
it's not
you
even
match each
religious.
other's questions.
No,
Okay.
it's not even like a religious component. It's really like, have you guys talked about like how many kids you want? How would you discipline your kids? How do you want to manage your money?
How many
Like,
kids?
How
Like,
many
that's
kids?
smart.
What would you
I feel
do
like
if
that
like a
should be-
family member gets ill? How would you deal? Like it was like all the like non-sexy stuff of marriage. And I just remember being like, oh man, like we're all getting married in this room. And like a lot of us have not had these conversations.
Yeah.
We were also in the process of buying an apartment, which like divulges a lot of financial information. But that all happened super, super early on in our relationship. So
I'd
like
like to know how many couples break up after that.
oh, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Like, well,
You're
maybe
like, what,
this
you want
isn't
no
a good
kids?
idea.
We don't align in anything. Yeah.
So then that's good though, because you have to have those hard conversations.
Yeah, and it was like it like kind of forced you to like have them. And it sounds so crazy. Like to people out there who are listening to this and like are not married or dating, and you're like, wait, how do people not talk about this? It happens.
No, but like, and it's
A lot of
also
people
when
don't
you're
talk.
dating and you're going through all of this, you don't like just sit down and be like, okay, we have to talk about finances. It just kind of like tumbles into a relationship, and then you have to talk about this stuff again, open communication.
So there was this like really crazy conversation, or this like, I don't even remember where I heard this, but it was like, if you're dating, and it gets serious and you might be getting engaged or whatever, do you need to disclose your student loans or any debt that you have?
I think yes.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what I think
because
so
you're
too.
taking on that debt.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's
And there's
so
a lot of people who hide that.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny. So my girlfriend got married to her college sweetheart, whatever. And when they got married, they did the same kind of test. And he was like, I'm not taking on your debt. He was like, that's your responsibility.
But that's so bad. No, it's not. It's a partnership.
I'm telling you
my
what
God.
happened.
I guess it
Before they got
depends.
married.
Are they married now?
Of
still?
course, yes.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
still married.
And she's just hustling away.
That is insane.
Well, yeah, he was like, this is not my debt. This is your debt. And he's like, I don't want to take it on. And so she was like, okay. So she was responsible for paying her own debt.
Oh my God, I tell you, it gets, but am I like, okay, I also have like, there's like good debt and bad debt in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if someone had like student loans and you're like marrying a doctor,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, we'll figure this out.
Right.
But if someone just like racked up credit card debt, that's like on, I don't know, useless stuff.
But
Is
think
that
about the
different?
reverse though. If you're getting a divorce, or if your husband dies suddenly, or whatever it is, you have to, that is part of your assets, is the debt. Like you have to take care of that yourself, or the person. Like that horrible story that I'm not even gonna like mention who or anything like that, but the guy ended up dying.
Yeah.
And he had, I think, like millions and millions of dollars in debt, and it went all on the woman.
It's crazy how that, how it can go on to her.
Well,
Well, I
because
think
it's a
you're
partnership.
joint- It's a
Yeah.
partnership. I think you're you're
unless
like
you have like
joint,
a prenup or something or whatever, but no one like writes, oh, I'm not taking on your debt. Like, maybe
well,
they do.
clearly
I
there's
don't know.
one guy out there that's doing that.
I know.
All the other guys right now are like, damn it, why didn't they think of that?
Well, honestly, it's like been 20 years later. They're still married. They have like, you know,
I'm sure they have
kids,
plenty
and,
together. Yeah.
And it's so funny. And well, she ended, you know, I gave her probably a little push. Now she's a lawyer. So
Yeah.
she was probably like, whatever.
But also, I will say, I think it's really important too. Like, it's different dynamics in relationships because I met my husband when he had nothing. Like, I met my husband when like we literally built what we had together.
That's how I feel.
And
too.
like, so it's like your money's my money's your money. Like, there's no conversation. But like later in life, if you do get married and like your husband is successful or you're successful, that I think is a bigger conversation. And I do think people do talk about that more. I think it's more when you're younger and building your wealth together.
Yeah.
It's more of a taboo topic for some reason because it's like you don't know how to navigate that, I guess, as you continue to make more money and grow, I guess. I don't know.
It was interesting for like me because my husband got married like really young before me. No kids or anything like that, but and they weren't married long, but obviously like he had gone through the process of like joining assets and like figuring that world out and blah blah blah. So when I met him, it was like he had like a round one going through this where he was like, so there was like an example of a very critical thing that he did for me that I would have never thought about at that point was he was like, okay, we're going to like merge, you know, like basically he added me on to all of his banks and things like that. But then he told me, he was like, you need to keep all of your current credit cards and like debit cards, whatever that you, mostly like my 2 credit cards that I had that were solely under my name. He's like, you need to keep those. And what we'll do is we'll put like utility bills on them that will automatically get paid every month, because he was like, God forbid something happens to me. You as a secondary person on my credit, like you don't build any credit history for yourself. So he was like, if something happens to me or God forbid we get divorced, you're back at square one with no credit history.
Wait, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I mean, I have my own
So I always
stuff,
kept my own. And then I had my business, but I like keeping my own stuff too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
He's just not allowed to keep his own
I
stuff.
know, exactly. No, that's so
Maybe I should rethink this. I feel like the only bill that's in my name is the water bill.
Your credit's perfect.
Oh my God. I'm like, who needs credit anymore?
But how do you guys handle like really tricky money like conversations? Speechless. I'm telling you, it's a weird, uncomfortable topic.
I don't know. We just talk about it, and then sometimes we end in fighting, or we end in okay, sounds good. Like it's just. I also it depends on the relationship. Like Tom and I have we communicate a lot. So when we don't communicate, that's when I think the fights happen. And I always try to like rip it out of him if like there's an issue or anything like that, and we talk it out. Like I'm just that person. Like I hate like having weird energy. So I always make sure that we discuss a topic. But I think the money thing, we just discuss it. Like we chat about it, and sometimes I don't want to hear about it, and sometimes I do want to hear about it. And sometimes it's not the right time, and sometimes we do. But like we do talk about it. It's not like the funnest conversation to talk about.
But anyways, I guess I do feel naive when it comes to financial situations with us, and he always is like, oh, Tracy, you need to sit in this, you know, you should sit in and listen. And I don't understand half of it, because it's a lot when you're talking, you know, to advisors, and you know, I'm just still trying to understand like the stock market, right? And like what happens, how debt is good, you know, and like so finally that's like ingrained in my head. You know that debt is not a bad thing, you know, that it can work to your advantage, and you make money off of it, right? You know, you make money off of your debt,
which we're very smart about. But that's interesting though about the divorce thing too, because I think yesterday when we were talking, like one of our friends brought up their parents. How they're divorced and how that happens. And we were starting talking and everything like that. And I think another really important conversation in relationships that people don't necessarily talk about unless it's like with your best friends is the SEX word. Because I think when that goes down the drain, I think a lot more problems happen in relationships. And I also think that's a communication.
Did you just spell sex?
I did. I don't know why.
Are there children?
It's processing through my head. And I'm like, wait, did she just?
Guys, I have 4 kids. I always think there's a child around. I'm like, wait a second.
It's sex.
It's sex. Like,
but before sex, I think it's respect, guys.
It's 100%.
You have to have respect for your partner, and if you don't, then that's what happened with my first marriage. I had no respect for him, so it's like
respect
then you're not
biggest.
Yes,
biggest.
It's the best.
But then everything kind of trickles down from that. Then it's like then everything kind of dissolves, or you try to fight through it, and
And like what Tracy, you were saying, like losing that respect for somebody, like if you feel you're in a situation that feels very tumultuous and chaotic and this person is like not a rock and it's not stable. And even though you're trying to be, they're not able to like do that with you. Like you do start losing respect for this person because you're like, my God, like, you know, show up for us, show up for me or show up for yourself. And then when that doesn't happen, it's like, it's really hard to be into somebody who you can't, it's impossible to be into somebody that you don't respect.
Yeah,
like it's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the planting seed. That and resentment. Like if there's dirty laundry there, you got to clear that stuff up.
Have to.
That resentment.
But again, that's all about the communication. I think like respect, communication, and just an open, honest conversations really goes a long way. And as I get older and I meet new people and I talk about the relationships, and by the way, all of us, I think, have beautiful relationships, which I think that's why we all get along really well, because I think we're very fortunate with that. And we just, I don't know, I just think we value relationships the same way. But as you get older and you're meeting these different people in different areas, you realize a lot of people are in unhappy relationships too. And then you kind of dissect like, well, why are they in an unhappy relationship?
How do you know? I feel like people are very private.
I don't, because
I think when it starts spilling out socially.
And I'm a really good people reader. I think that's my magic power. Like I genuinely know when people are unhappy in relationships or just like in general. And I'm like, well, why are you unhappy? And I just kind of like read the situation, and it's obvious that it's just because it's like unraveling at home a little bit. And that's why, and I always think it's like, well, this person's always working, or this person isn't making me a priority, or this person, you know, and that's another thing, gender roles, like some women don't want to play the gender role anymore. You know what I mean? So, meaning like, I don't want to, I had my 4 kids. I am so happy that I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I want a little more now. But I sacrificed my career to be a stay-at-home mom. And now all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're kind of like, okay, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah. And you're so young.
And I think a lot of people though, that role changing in a relationship, I think makes some people uncomfortable.
Well, I think it's really tough. I think if you're in that role, is like, especially as a woman, and then you have that epiphany where you're like, oh, you know what? I do want something a little bit more.
Or like you're done
but
having
then
kids. Like
your husband is not supportive of that.
100%.
Or he's just like, you know, a lot of guys there's still a feeling of being a little threatened by that.
It's just wanting a little more, I guess. I don't even know. Just like for me, I'm going through this a little bit, like, because I'm like, okay, my youngest is 3. He's in preschool pretty much almost all day, obviously. And I'm still a mother. I still have a lot of things I have to get done and accomplish during the day, but I really want to do something for myself. And I used to be a performer. I used to be a singer. I used to have like a little bit of an Instagram account. And I'm like, I want something for myself. And Tom is definitely very supportive of this, because he's always known that I kind of took a back seat doing my stuff to help raise the kids. And he's like, all right, he's like, this is your time. Like, you go out, you get it. You want to do this, you can.
Like, you have the support.
You have my support. And that alone made me, like, I was so grateful
Want to
for
jump his
that.
bones?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was just like,
Respect.
it was like hard to kind of come out and say that, because it's not like I am a good mom and I love being a mom and I want to be there for my children, but I also need something for myself. So that's why this journey I've gone on to figure out what I want to do. And again, having the support of my husband is very important to me, as you said, because if he wanted the opposite, I think that would have been a really tough conversation, because I want a little more. And if he didn't, that would have been very difficult to kind of navigate.
I think about this a lot too with the work stuff. So like I have my own business and I'm obviously working a lot. And like, even when the kids were younger, like I was still working a lot. And then there's parts of me that I'm like, oh my God, am I missing out on certain things? Or, you know, like there's always like a delicate balance. I mean, I'm telling you, there's like no right way of doing this. But what hit me, and like this will hit you as well, is I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be in my late 40s and I'll be an empty nester.
Yeah.
I have a whole life still ahead.
Oh my God.
I think
like my
about
kids
that.
are gone by the time I'm 48 years old.
I know.
Oh my God, I didn't even think
And
about
you're going to
that.
be like that too.
I'm constantly like, what am I going to do? What am I working towards
Right.
today to have in 5 years?
Yeah, because one day they're gone, right?
I know.
And then,
but at the same time, because I totally see that. But then there's the other side, is they will always need you. Like my mom joked about this. Like my mom's a young mother and she was like, I still have people living in my basement. She's like, you came back from Dallas and you had to live in the basement for a while. And it's just like, your kids are always going to be around. However, it's a different situation and a different relationship with the kids as they get older. And I saw this on TikTok, which might get banned, by the way. But this billionaire basically said real success is when your children want to come home to you.
yes.
Like that's real success. He goes, I could have the biggest house, multiple houses, the yachts, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that means nothing if my children don't want to come home and spend the time with me.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to also build. It's like, I want to build a safe space at home so my children want to be home with me, that they want to come back home, that they want to travel with us.
Right.
Like I think is success right there, because your children want to come home and be with you. Right. But obviously you have to let them go a little bit, and that would be really hard.
Going back to the financial question. So what do you guys do to secure yourself financially? Like, God forbid anything happened to your husband or you did get divorced. Like, I always think about this. I'm like, God, we're getting along great right now, but what if? No, I always have that question
with people around us. Like, you start seeing people separating, and like, you know, we're entering like a kind of a delicate phase of life, like the stresses of raising kids and like establishing your career. And so like,
well, you were saying on the bus too, that the rate at which people are getting divorced and their later age nowadays has drastically
it's like
increased.
Going up a lot. So like people like hitting their 60s.
Yes.
No, I feel like women especially just shouldn't be naive to be like, oh, this guy's going to take care of me for the rest of my life.
Oh God, no.
100%.
That's why I want to do stuff for myself. But
so
again,
I'm just asking the question of like, what could or should you do to prepare yourself financially of like,
well, I don't have a prenup. So if we get a divorce, I'm taking him for half.
But that's the thing. So look at what happened.
But I get it. I know what you're saying.
What if your husband put everything in a different name or a business
I know.
name that you
It's
didn't
like,
have access to? Like, you never know.
I know.
No, I know. That's a good. I mean, Tracy,
because a lot of women financially just turned a blind eye because they assume that their husband is going to take care of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
we had an acquaintance that we've known for a while who literally said, and this is like, she's like a smart individual, that she doesn't know who they bank with.
Yeah.
And
I was like actually floored. Where all the money is.
Yeah.
Wait, that's insane.
And I was really floored. I was like, okay, like in today's day and age, there are a lot of people who don't know what the situation is, and who don't, and you know, like that at that stage, I think that's just so problematic to have zero awareness of like where you stand. And also, how does that dictate the way you live your life or spend or invest, or when you have no idea? I think one of the biggest things that help in like the money talk and all that is like knowing the path forward. Like, what are we both working to achieve? What are we trying to do? And not knowing that and just blindly be living your life with like this allowance and you have no idea what's going on, I think can cause massive problems down the road. You know, you don't even know where to begin like clearing that up.
I know. I completely agree with that. And like, I will say,
we need like a women financial advisor.
Yeah. To come on,
or just like a couple bullet points. Like we should.
But what do you do? Like, do you have like your own bank account? Like, what do you? Don't say it if you do, because.
I mean, I have my own money and my own card, but it's not like anything to like live on. No, we joint share everything. Right. Yeah, and I look up to Jason. Jason takes care of a lot of it.
Yes, but you're aware of it though. That's the difference. Like you're in joint accounts together.
Yes, but but I'm really not. Like, I really need to be more involved. Yeah. And I try. It's just another level that sometimes I don't comprehend. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to have that, you know.
But it's also a lot of our husbands specifically, like that's their world. Like that's like what they are in. So it's easier for them. So it's harder for us to as long as you have, I think, a general sense of everything. I think it's okay.
I feel like I do need like a if I die folder. You know, maybe that like would help.
I do. Tom does, by the way. It's very like morbid, but he does. He's like, if anything has ever happened to me, and he tells me exactly where it is and what to do and where to look and all that stuff. But
I think like raising two girls now, I'm realizing like it's so important to have like financial literacy and like really understand that. And like we should be thinking about that with all of our kids. Yes. But like really having these conversations at a young age so it doesn't feel awkward and doesn't feel taboo and money doesn't become like an uncomfortable thing. It becomes like it becomes a tool. It becomes something that, you know.
So my friend just got her son this card. It's like, I think it's like the green light card. I don't know.
Yes, one of my babysitters has that.
So, but you put money on it for them and they get to choose how they spend it. So, and it helps them actually invest because it says like, if you want to invest if you have $60 and you want to invest 10%, or you want to spend 5% and you want to take the other percent, you know, and you know, keep it.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So my daughter just started her son. Well, this is another thing. Her son is like 10 and now he's like started to look at stocks because he bought like maybe .002% of Amazon or
Right.
whatever with the money that he got. So it's kind of like he's interested now in looking at the stocks. So I mentioned it to Jason, and then Jason was like, you know what? He was like, I don't know, because I want my kids to be kids. I don't know if I'm ready for them yet to start
Thinking about those
money.
things.
Yeah.
And thinking about.
Well, and it depends on the kid too, because some kids are like love that type of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like some kids, I think, will just spend it and not care. Like my daughter, like we do not have credit cards, but like I'll give her, it's called Apple Cash on her Apple Watch.
Yeah.
And when she's out with her friends, she'll use that to
like buy her ice
like
cream
a
or whatever
snack
it is.
or whatever
Yeah.
it is. But like I wouldn't say that she's 10 years old. She's not investing or
Right, but like
thinking about it.
what age? I think the earlier the better. You start teaching these kids like the importance of saving, and like if you make $10, you know what? Put $2 away.
Well, what's interesting with like our generation of kids too is that when we all grew up, like you had cash in your wallet and you would see the cash deplete, right? And today they never see the transfer of cash. It's always like through a credit card or Amazon or whatever. So they don't see that depletion the same way. And it's like, how do we teach that? Like when Charlie, my youngest she was about 6, she asked to go get all these toys or whatnot. And I was like, we don't just go to the store and buy all these toys. And then I was like, cause it's expensive. And like you there's an occasion normally when we do something like that. And then she goes, well, I don't understand. Why don't you just go to the lollipop store and get cash? And I was like, what is she talking about? I was like, okay, you know what? I digress. Like conversation ends. About like a week later, I go into Chase Bank.
There's lollipops.
And there's lollipops. And I'm like, this is the bloody lollipop store. She thinks you just come in here and they give you cash.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, oh man, there's got to be some sort of education. But all of our kids are all their money's digitized.
But I will tell you guys, I especially Vivian, she's now 10, and now that she understands, like she is having an understand of value, because like when we go to the store, no, you're not getting that. Like how much do you have in your account?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's that. Okay. And also the Roblox, I don't know if you guys allow your kids to do Roblox. I do sometimes, and they have Roblox cash. And I'm like, well, look at that. That's $20 in Roblox cash. I was like, that's real money. Like you're not getting that. I was like, so how do you get that? Do you have that? Do you want to spend the money in your account to buy that? Because then that's all your money. And she's like, no, I don't. And then when we go to the store, Mom, I want that. All right, well, let's check out. Let's see how much you have on there. Like, you know, so she's
talking about it. Like they're actively
talking.
understanding.
You have to just constantly talk. And then also like making your bed, and what's it called?
Chores.
Yeah. Sorry. Chores. Like Thomas is now like, I want to make my bed because I want like, you know, whatever on the chore chart to get like $1 of like, you know, down the chore chart.
And they see it go up. And
now he's realizing, wait, well, I can go to CVS and get like, you know, a piece of candy if I get like, you know, if I do all my chores and do this. And like, I think just having the open conversation as children in the house of a value of $1 and saying that's expensive. This is this. Obviously our world that our children are living in right now, like our world it's a little jaded, and I'm trying to open the door and show them like this is not reality. Like you have to earn the money. So
well, because I have older kids, and I am so thankful for Jason because he really does teach the kids how to save. Like they all sat down with him to say, you know, Dad, how do I invest this? Like, or, you know, I have a certain amount of money. What do I do? How do I look at stocks? How do I think about this? And I look how how lucky they are, because when my dad died, I got a little bit of money and it wasn't a lot, but I think back now, if I just invested that, or if somebody would have given me any kind of guidance, it was $5,000. It wasn't,
but
not
like
a lot.
what it could have become, or what it could have.
$5,000 could have been. I mean, that was like back when Yahoo, like no one even knew what Yahoo was.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, you know, just to have that guidance. So it's so important to know like what $1,000 or $2,000 can be in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like that, when you see it real on paper, you're just like, oh my God. Like,
I think it's important. Like you said, those talks that Jason's doing, like Steven does this thing with the girls, and our girls are younger. They're like 8 and 10, but he calls it the tree of life.
Yeah.
I'm going to record one of these sessions.
Please.
And he's got this big sketch pad and it's like, and it's really talking about just like life stuff. And he'll do it like once a month, you know, with each girl. And it's really, I was kind of like, my dad used to do things like that to me growing up, you know, and he's a very visual guy. So everything was like drawn out, and it would be these like long conversations about like, this is kind of how you get from A to B. This is like the kind of your path, or this is like how when you want to buy a property, this is how you have to think about it. It was just like a lot of these kind of like life skill conversations, and they stick with you.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a second. Like, you know, these little seeds really stick with you. Yeah. But I just want to talk about one superpower about, I call it a superpower about when you have to have difficult conversations with either your spouse or your child or whatever. there is nothing better than doing it on a walk.
Oh, I totally agree.
So you have like a lot of space around you. You're outside and you're not facing each other. So there's
good.
a kind of like an ability to feel like I just am going to freely flow all of this information.
Wait, I feel like I read this somewhere, or did you tell me this?
I don't know, but it really changed. If you have to have a hard conversation with anybody in your life, go for a walk with them.
That.
And it's the not being face to face, and then also brings, like, if it's a yucky discussion, it brings it out of your household. So like you're not tainting like a space or a feeling with like having had a difficult conversation like somewhere in your house.
I totally agree with that. I was saying that to Tom. I was like, do you remember in New York City when we just would go for walks with our dog, or just like, let's get out of the apartment and go for a walk? We had like huge life conversations on those walks. And I'm like, they just come out, and it's just like your brain's working, you're in the fresh air or whatever, fresh air of New York City. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it does. I completely agree with you. And I do the same thing with my daughters. I feel like I read that somewhere. It was an actual study that came out. I'm sure
it's like a thing, because it really works. Yeah. And like my daughter Chloe's 10, we started doing our little power walks over Christmas break. And I was like, oh my God, like the stuff we were talking about. But I think it's the comfort level that you're not face to face and you're not in your intimate space. Yep. And you have space like around you. Yeah. And it's the best way to have a hard conversation with anybody.
Yeah. You feel like you're better conversation, like easier to have a conversation with Chloe than Charlie?
Yeah, like Charlie's just still so young, and like has like Chloe's 10, but like I feel she's like a 30-year-old suburban mom inside.
Really is.
Yeah. Like Vivian, so she's like very inquisitive and like asks really hard questions. And Charlie, I don't have that dynamic yet because she's still like such a kid.
Yeah.
But with Chloe, I'm like, oh, okay, we're like, we're all entering that with the and even the hormone stuff and all that with the kids. Like we're all going through that. That's why the talks are going to be so crucial.
And you want to be open, because like I always want my daughters and my sons, obviously, to come to me. I don't want them to ever keep anything hidden. And that's why I always try to have open conversations at home. But it's like, how do you really know that they're coming to you? I know my daughter Ellie always comes to me. Vivian sometimes like holds things in. Yeah. And anyways, I like the walk idea. I'm gonna start.
There's like another little like tip that I read somewhere was to have in your household, like if your child needs to come up to you with a conversation that's like really difficult, or they're gonna say something to you that they know they're gonna make you mad, you have an object in your house. So if they show up to you with that object, it gives you like that 3 seconds to be like, oh, I'm about to get hit with like a shit bomb.
Oh, really?
Like, yes. Like if your kid holds the object, it's like, I'm about to tell you something that's really difficult. Yeah. But I'm giving you a 3 seconds so you can deactivate the reaction. Right. And just listen to my words and like I'm already telling you this is not going to be good.
Wait, what's the question though that you said it yesterday? That you're supposed to ask, like, well, what do you think, or something like that? I really liked that.
If someone asks, I love how we went from like our husbands to like,
well, obviously, so this is how the conversation goes.
If your husband asks you a difficult,
bring the circle, the moon rock.
Yeah, when you're about to have your money talk, bring the moon rock.
Here we go.
We need it for us too.
I know.
No, it was like if your child asks you a question that's difficult to answer. Yes. And you're just like, ooh, like, or it might not be age appropriate.
Or what do you think?
You're like, well, what do you think?
Or what do you know?
That's what do you know? Yeah. What do you know about this? Yes. And then they'll tell you, and then you can gauge like, oh, okay, like they know the G-rated version. I don't have to go R right away.
So true. Oh my God, the conversations that we have with the kids. I'm still trying to hold that door of like Vivian entering that stage in life right now, because she's about to go off to middle school. And,
gosh, that's wild.
It's wild. Like, it's really wild that we're at that stage right now. But anyways.
And you're like 18.
I am not. I'm actually still annoyed that I just found out you have a friend younger than me. I'm supposed to be your young friend.
I know. The second generation's coming in.
They're coming in hot.
All right, you guys. It's always like such a pleasure.
I know. Nice. So much fun.
I think we're successful, and hopefully we gave good advice.
I don't know. Yeah. I hope so. You take it for what it's worth.
Take it or leave it. But or keep doing your own research about this stuff.
Yeah, maybe we definitely need a financial advisor on.
I think that would be great.
Also, I would like to mention, I want to start, we're going to obviously have a Instagram by this point, but like if you have any topics you want us to talk about or any questions, please write on the Instagram comments, and we'll somehow, I think it's Three's a Crowd, but you'll find us.
Well, yeah.
We'll post about it. Anyways, sounds good, guys.
Bye.
Until next time.
Have a good Monday.
Have a good Monday. Bye.